Hi there, I'm Renee Gregoire with 828 Living, and today I wanted to talk to you about this important form from the North Carolina Real Estate Commission. It's called Working with Real Estate Agents Disclosure. The commission exists to protect you, the consumer, and one way they do that is with forms, lots of explanations. And if I'm doing my job right, you're going to receive this form at something called first substantial contact, and that's before you give me any confidential information about your finances or your motivations for buying. So this form is not a contract. Signing it only means that you've received it, and it's a document that explains the different ways that we can work together, or that you can work with any real estate agent in North Carolina. The important thing here is do not share any confidential information until you've signed a buyer agency agreement, because until then, any agent could be working for the seller and not for you. So here are the 4 ways that you can work with any agent in North Carolina. The first option is buyer agency. If you sign a buyer agency agreement, then I will work for you and only for you. I'll be negotiating on your behalf, protecting your interests and keeping your confidential information confidential. We can start by working under an oral agreement, but before we make any offer on any property, we have to have a signed agreement in place. The next option is down here. This is unrepresented buyer. If you don't sign a buyer agency agreement with me or with anyone, you are considered an unrepresented buyer. That means that any agent that's helping you is actually working for the seller and is obligated by law to communicate any of your confidential information back to the seller. And that can hurt your position in negotiations. So that's why don't give out confidential information until you have a signed buyer agency agreement in place. Option 3 is something called dual agency. This happens if I represent both you and the seller. That's dual agency. In this case, I would have to remain neutral. I can't negotiate for you or for the seller. I can't give advice that benefits one party over the other. I'm simply here to facilitate the process and the transaction and make sure everything goes smoothly. Now, there is another option called designated dual agency. And with this option, my firm would assign one agent to represent you and another agent to represent the seller. This keeps things more separate. Your agent works for you, the seller's agent works for them, but both are still operating in the same firm. So just to summarize, if you want full representation, someone to work on your behalf, be loyal to you, negotiate for you, and all those great things that happens with representation, sign a buyer agency agreement. If there's no agreement, the agent you're working with could be working for the seller. If it's dual agency, I represent both sides, but I have to stay neutral. Designated dual agency, one agent works for you, another for the seller, same firm. So understanding these options is really key to protecting yourself in a real estate transaction. If you have any questions, text me or send me an email or give me a call. I'm happy to chat.